Welcome back to Mass Appeal.
We are commemorating Black History Month here in Western Mass, and today we're learning about two great local figures from our past with two great minds. We have Dr. Kamal Ali, and we did have someone else that was going to be here with you today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but we're lucky that we have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. So you're from Westfield State University.
Yes, indeed.
And I know that usually you're used to speaking for about 2.5 hours, but we're going to condense it today and talk about two very important people from the past.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about actually Umar ibn Said, whose photograph or whose daguerreotype is right there. And it's another individual is Abdul Rahman. And what I really want to do is put these two individuals in some kind of context. And the context is the 18th century, United States of America, slavery was rampant. There was a huge sort of stereotypic notion that slaves were illiterate, slaves had no culture worth mentioning or documenting. And these two individuals bring the lie to that concept. Umar ibn Said was someone who drew notoriety because he was found to be not only literate, but also had a fantastic memory. He was someone who was Muslim, and these individuals are all Muslim because the literacy issue is one that's connected to Islam. The only written language in Africa after hieroglyphics, and you know when that occurred, the Egyptians, 2,000 years and before before the birth of Jesus, was Arabic. Because the Arabic was written in, the Quran was written in Arabic. Muslim clerics, Muslim practitioners of the faith, like myself, learned Arabic because it was integral to the religion in the same way that Latin used to be, and still is for those who understand it, integral as the liturgical language of the Catholic Church, or Hebrew to the Jewish community. And these slaves came here with backgrounds that were so interesting that in some cases they drew national notoriety. The historical societies, etc., of the time found that these men were literate, exalted them in the case of Abdul Rahman and others, Ayub bin Salman, to the point where some of them even went back to Africa. But what's most interesting, I think, is that what you have in each case, and this book, by the way, for those of you who are watching who may be interested, this is my shameless commercialism, is written by my professor and mentor, Alan Austin, who lives in Amherst. He's still around, very much around, in fact. And he wrote initially a book that was some 500 pages in length, about 75 individuals, African slaves, all literate, all extraordinary people, and all practitioners of their faith, even though there was tremendous pressure on them to convert to Christianity. And Alan's book, I think, is one that's worth mentioning. I want to make sure I did that. But the main thing for me is that these individuals, all of them, exemplify a certain kind of affability, a certain kind of patience, a certain kind of practice of their faith that enabled them to withstand the extraordinary pressures of slavery.
And we can all take something from that, and it's amazing that they actually had those local ties right here in the Pioneer Valley is incredible.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how far we've come, and we still have a ways to go, but we're optimistic. It's a wonderful world, isn't it?
It is. After all is said and done, it certainly is.
Yes. Well,
and there's no reason to be pessimistic. We all should be hopeless, if in some cases, optimists.
That's right. Well, thank you
not?
for joining us, and great job condensing that speech into 3.5 minutes.
Well, thank you much.
Did a wonderful
See,
job.
now I want to see the 2-hour version. Maybe you can hang out after the show.
There you go.
We can lengthen it out a little. Hey,
Seth, for you any old time.
All right. Hey, sounds good. I'll clear my.
Now we're back in Studio 1A. We're in the kitchen ready to make some traditional Southern food.
And we're going to do so with Bruce Barrow and Luana Hood from the Pan-African Historical Museum in Springfield. So many dishes. Let's get started. What are we going to make first, Bruce?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say good morning, everybody. And what we're going to make today is some salmon croquettes.
Very cool.
I have canned salmon here, 1 egg, about 2 tablespoons of flour, and some onion. And the next dish is going to be what they call a Kajinu chicken. It's a ginger chicken dish, originated out of West Africa, off of the Ivory Coast. And Luana will be able to tell you more about it, and I'll put this together for us to be
Let's get started.
That sounds great.
You know, Stephen, actually, African Americans are major contributors to Southern cuisine. African Americans have a love affair with food, whether it be a root beer, glazed ham from Louisiana, or this delicate rice salad from Mississippi that Bruce is getting ready to make. You need to understand that the method of cultivating rice was a gift from the Africans to the Americans. The slave traders in South Carolina were purchasing African slaves from the rice coast, bringing them in to South Carolina to cultivate the rice. They didn't bring them in because they were strong. They had brain power. And the rice that they cultivated was exported to Europe. And South Carolina gold rice became the most valuable rice in the world.
Whew.
Okay?
Unbelievable.
So rice means life. It means prosperity. In the Jola cultures, when a woman's getting ready to get married, she has a beautiful carved spoon given to her, because rice is important. It's one of our cultural essences, okay? It speaks to who we are. You know, in the Low Country, rice is cooked with everything. Eggs, you'll see rice everywhere because it's important.
Well, you know, I love rice, and I love eating it, and I love all the different ways that you can prepare it, but I didn't know the history of it, especially given where it comes from and how significant it was to your culture. So it's nice to hear
rice has
that.
been growing in West Africa since 1500 BC. So it's very old.
Very old
It's
and
very
very delicious,
Yes,
isn't
it
it?
is. Yes,
Now,
it is.
Bruce, in the meantime, you're mixing up a bunch of ingredients and you're making them into patties. So these are the croquettes, salmon
Yes,
croquettes
sir.
with canned salmon. It looks great. And what else are you going to be making for us today?
Okay, with the Virginia chicken, excuse me, what I have here, I have eggplant. I can start putting that together as well.
Yeah, if you need help, let me know. I can roll up my sleeves.
Me too. Yeah.
What I start with is the chicken. What you do is you just put the chicken in, and what Virginia mean is to shake.
Oh.
So-
Virginia shake. Okay.
So as
It's
you
a
put the
Baule word.
ingredients in,
Is it
this
also a
tomato.
dance move?
Well, you can
you
dance as doing it.
What is that
I have
again?
carrots here,
Kajinu?
Virginia.
Kajinu. Well, let's all Kajinu
Carrots.
right now.
I have onion,
Well, mine's not very good, though.
green
I
peppers.
don't know what you're doing. So.
Yeah.
Is this parsley or?
Yes, and that's basically a garnish that we use.
Oh,
That's for
And
the
then
end,
for
after.
my herbs, I have thyme.
Okay.
never have enough time.
Oh, okay.
Funny story about that, Joe.
Bay
She
leaves.
says it every single time there's time on the show.
Oh, you know.
And then I have some
American
salt and
soul.
pepper.
All right, and then you just let it simmer for a while?
Well, what you'll do, you would seal it with aluminum foil. You would never open it. Once you put the lid on, every 5 or 10 minutes,
Oh,
shake.
you Kajinu.
And
Am I
then-
saying it right?
that would be the final product.
It could be
as you
Cajun
see here.
Cajun, you know.
Cajun.
Cajun.
Oh,
And-
that's the final product there. It looks
Right.
good. And as always, who would have thought, served with rice.
There it is.
Now,
Well,
this,
actually, no, let me correct you.
Yeah.
In Ivory Coast, it would not be served with rice.
Oh.
It would be a cassava plant called atiki.
Atiki.
My Ivorian friends, if I'm not saying it right, forgive me. But it would be a cassava, and it would be more, once you cook it, it's more like couscous. We're doing with it rice today.
now, here's my other question. I see another rice dish here with a lot of good-looking vegetables. What's going on here?
Okay, that's just a bed of lettuce. It's sitting on a bed of lettuce along with some fresh tomatoes.
Love
What's
it.
in the rice?
Okay, we have squash, and then there's also eggplant in the rice.
But it's one of those
Seasoned with
things-
salt and pepper.
You can use whatever's in season, though.
That's
Whichever
basically
in
what it
season,
is.
or you can put whatever you want to put in it. This is another way. In Mississippi, they would make it like a potato salad, except it would be rice, and they'd have mustard in there. Bruce didn't put any mustard in his. He chose to go another way with his.
I like your style, Bruce. And lastly, we have some dessert.
That is sweet potato pound cake.
Can we dig in?
Wow.
Yes, you
to all
can.
of these
Now,
things?
It's got nuts in it, but it's sweet potato pound cake.
I'm gonna
Sounds
be
good to
nuts
me.
about it.
All right.
Oh.
I'm gonna try some.
Ashley
And
full
the
jokes today.
Okay, good.
Bruce, I
I'm
want to
gonna
thank
try
you so
it.
much
Thank
for
you,
stopping
Bruce.
by.
Thank you
This
for
all
having
looks
me.
amazing. And ahead on Massive